Hey, 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 it's Rebecca Simon Peter here with Leadership Mojo, and it's great to be with you. I am going to be talking today about the indispensable power of emotional intelligence. So, my work is working with church leaders and the congregations that you serve so that there's transformation in the world and so that you get to live out your calling with fullness and vigor and vitality. And one of the things I've discovered is absolutely essential to being able to lead well, whether we're talking about church, we're talking about faith-based ministry, paraministry, or you're president of the United States of America, you've got to have emotional intelligence. Absolutely got to have emotional intelligence. So this leadership mojo is about the indispensable power and the it's like the keys to the kingdom, having emotional intelligence. And so I'm really excited to share with you today about this. So what's it like when you don't have emotional intelligence? Should we start with that? I think back to my own ministry when I was serving in the local church without emotional intelligence. I mean, I had some, right? I made it that far, but I didn't have all that I needed. So, a lot of what that looked like for me was trying to force a solution, thinking I already knew in advance what people thought, what they were feeling, why they were reacting the way they were, and then me reacting based on what I thought I knew. That, my friends, is not really emotional intelligence. That's taking what I got and trying to push a solution through. Lack of emotional intelligence. Here's what it looks like. People sitting in the way back rows, me wanting to feel the energy of the crowd, cordoning off the back rows without any warning so they'd have to sit in the front rows. That didn't go that well. That was not great emotional intelligence. It was like strategic, but it really didn't tap into the needs and the feelings of the people. Not great emotional intelligence. I've learned a lot since those days. And so I want to share with you are the 5 key components of emotional intelligence that will really help you lead with empathy, and with clarity and with confidence. So we give thanks to Daniel. I give thanks to Daniel Goleman, who's known as the father of emotional intelligence. And these 5 key components come from his work. So the first key component of emotional intelligence is self-awareness. Self-awareness. Now, this kind of self-awareness is like, what makes me tick? What ticks me off? Not, do I like green beans better than asparagus? Also, what triggers me? Like, what I get really mad, or where might I fly off the handle, or where might I sulk and pull away and not be leading well and effectively? That kind of emotional intelligence. That's the first piece, that kind of self-awareness. That's the first piece of emotional intelligence. The second key component of emotional intelligence is motivation. Now, it's one thing for me to understand my motivation, but to really be emotionally intelligent, I have to understand your motivation. What motivates you? In other words, what makes you tick? What ticks you off? What stresses you out? What lights you up? What may cause you to sulk and pull away? What may elicit a very strong reaction from you that I'm not expecting? When you can understand that kind of motivation and understand people at that level, you're really operating with tremendous emotional intelligence. It's really important. And it's really fun, actually, to have that kind of awareness. In creating a culture of renewal, we teach that. We teach that hard because we want you to be able to understand the people that you're leading, what motivates them, because it will help your leadership so much. Now, the third key component of emotional intelligence is empathy. Empathy comes from me understanding who I am, what makes me tick, what ticks me off, what may produce a strong reaction in me, where might I be on thin ice, in terms of my own ability to hold myself together, what motivates me, what lights me up. Understanding you and what motivates you and all of that, the gap between those two things and being able to deal with that well is called empathy. May not be how I handle things, but I gotta have empathy for how you handle things and who you are. And that's the third key component is empathy. I get who I am. I get who you are. But instead of judging you or being pissed off by you or wondering like, what's wrong with you? Let's tell the truth. Sometimes we do think all that stuff. I have empathy for you. I get who you are. I get why you do the things that you do. And by the way, when I first had this vision of Jesus that drew me into the path of discipleship, do you know what I experienced from him that was so powerful? It was empathy. He said to me with his eyes, not with his mouth, but with his eyes, with his heart, when I had this waking vision of Jesus right at the beginning of my journey, he said, I get you. I understand you. I understand why you made the decisions you made. I understand why you did the things you do. And I accept you and I love you. That was his message to me. And, it's such an honor for me to be able to carry forth in my work with others to teach people this empathy, to get who they are, to understand why they make the decisions they make, and to love them anyway, even if it's not what I would do, to have empathy for other people. It's a very Christ-like quality. It's a high, high spiritual quality, and it's emotionally intelligent. So what do we have so far? We have self-awareness, number one. Number two, we have motivation. Number three, we have empathy. Empathy is the gap between my self-awareness and understanding your motivation. It's the bridge, empathy. Now, the third key component of emotional intelligence, and here's where it gets really powerful, is self-regulation. Okay? So I get me, I get you, now I have empathy for you. The fourth piece is self-regulation. How do I handle myself in such a way that I actually bring out the best in you instead of the worst in you? And I bring out the best in me instead of the worst in me. Actually having that self-mastery. Self-mastery. That's what self-regulation is. That is a powerful and beautiful skill to have. Jesus had it. He knew exactly what he was doing. When he turned over those tables, when he drew that line in the sand, when he said, he or she without the first sin, you may cast the stone, that was mastery. When he said to Pilate, what is truth? That was mastery. Of his mastery of himself, self-regulation. It's such a key component of emotionally intelligent leadership. Now, self-regulation doesn't mean hold back, hold back, hold back, hold back. No. Self-regulation means knowing what's needed in the moment and doing that. So sometimes it means leaning in. Sometimes it means causing a ruckus for the greater good, turning over a table. Sometimes it means holding back, but not always. So that's why it's mastery. Because for some people, holding back is super easy. For other people, leaning in is super easy. It's doing the thing that's not necessarily easy, but needed in the moment to move people forward, to make a point, to give people space to learn something or express something. Self-regulation. For me, it's easy to talk. Self-regulation is to not talk, but to let somebody else. For me, it's not easy to deliver bad news or to say something that might make somebody feel bad. Sometimes it's needed in the moment. Self-regulation will be to step in, deliver the bad news, say the thing that might ruffle a feather, but moves a whole group forward. What might be needed in your case for self-regulation? That's what I want you to think about. Self-mastery. Jesus showed it to us beautifully. Now, the last key component of emotional intelligence, what do we have so far? Self-awareness, we have motivation, we have empathy, and we have self-regulation. The last thing is social skill. Now, I like to say social skill doesn't mean knowing how to make small talk at a cocktail party or a potluck. Social skill is the ability to move people forward in the direction you want them to go. Not manipulation, but like moving people forward for a vision. How do you get the people that are cautious, the people that are ready to jump in and take a risk, the people who like things the way they were, the people who yearn for something different and are almost have one foot out the church? How do you take that whole range of people and move them forward in a positive direction that you're working on together? That is what Daniel Goleman calls social skill. Social skill. It is powerful. But you have to have that self-awareness. You have to understand the motivation of others. You have to have empathy for them and where they're really at. And you have to be able to self-regulate in order to be able to really practice social skill of moving people forward together. I remember a training I led recently, and somebody was thinking, oh gosh, this stuff could be used for ill. Social skill, like manipulation. But I'm not talking about manipulating people to get them to do what you want in isolation. I'm talking about with self-awareness, with empathy, with self-regulation, all those things in place, then moving people forward with care, with grace, with mastery, with skill, with compassion for them, with understanding of them, guided by God's Spirit. That kind of social skill is what I'm talking about. Now, you put those 5 things together, you got something special going on. You have the ability to move a church forward, the ability to move a ministry forward in the Spirit of God, with the power of the Holy Spirit, to build up the kingdom, the gospel of love, the gospel of good. So those are the 5 things I wanted to share with you today. You can tell I'm lit up by them. It's made such a difference in my life. And I know it will make a difference in your life too. One other thing I want to share. I grew up in a home that was a little bit chaotic. And I was the middle kid. So I felt like it was my job to make sure the boat didn't rock and to keep the peace and make sure everybody got happy together. Thanks be to God that God has taken that early life experience for me and helped me to grow in my own emotional intelligence so that I can help other people grow in theirs and not stay stuck in trying to be a fixer or a people pleaser, but to really mature in my desire for people to get along together so that we could really make a difference together. So that's where I come from. That's why I care so much about this stuff and would love to be able to share more with you. If this Leadership Mojo speaks to you, I encourage you to hit like, and that will also let you know when our next Leadership Mojo is coming up, and share it around. Gosh, you're probably not the only one that's interested in this kind of stuff. I realized quickly in my ministry, I'm not the only one that cares about this stuff. We want to be emotionally intelligent leaders. We want to be able to live fully our calling. We want to help people live in the gospel of love and the gospel of life. So thank you so much for joining me today. You can always learn more at RebeccaSimonPeter.com. I will see you next week. Thanks be to God. Take care. Bye.